This episode of Around the Oval is brought to you by Todd Pennington with Revolution Mortgage.
Hey, Ohio State fans, Alex Gleitman here, back with another edition of Around the Oval, brought to you by Todd Pennington with Revolution Mortgage. Ohio State 2023 football recruiting has started off a little slow. No recruits for the Buckeyes in the 2023 class. That is not the way the 2022 cycle played out, but no panic, I don't think, on anyone on the Buckeye scoop end side. No one inside the WAC panicking either, and things could be changing quite quickly. A big decision on tap this coming week, another one coming up in just less than a couple months now in early October, and maybe some more surprises along the way across the fall. So that tide could be turning pretty quickly when it comes to Ohio State's fortunes in their 2023 recruiting cycle. And to talk about some of the upcoming storylines and just the 2023 recruiting efforts at large, we bring on my fellow Buckeye Scoop recruiting insider, co-owner of Buckeye Scoop, Marc Givler. Marc, thanks for joining the show today.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Love being on here. We get to chop it up and talk recruiting and kind of give people, I guess, a behind the scenes look at kind of the conversations we normally would have on the phone or something. So I always enjoy these.
Yeah, for sure. And, sometimes I always look for special guests and things like that, but sometimes keeping it simple is easy. And as you said, sharing some of the things that we, casually talk about on the phone and have the discussions about, sharing them with the rest of the audience is the way to go. And I think that is the case with an upcoming decision Thursday, I believe 1 p.m. CST, so 2 p.m. Eastern time, if I am remembering correctly. Ty Lockwood, a 6'5", 225-pound tight end out of Independence High School in Thompson Station, Tennessee. Ty actually came to an Ohio State camp, one of the camp sessions in June. He came back for the barbecue in July. He's deciding between his final four of Florida State, Penn State, Ohio State, and South Carolina. Marc, let's cut to the chase. Where do you think Ty is going to commit? And tell us a little bit about your thoughts about him as a player.
Yeah, I think Ohio State is going to get this one. You like having the two visits there over the summer. A lot of these guys who camped and then went to the barbecue, a lot of those guys are leaning Ohio State's way. I think that's kind of the trend right now with guys who did both of those things this summer. I think the best thing I can say about Ty is that he fits that physical mold of, I think, what they're looking for. We saw with the Benji Gosnell decommitment, was that a scheme fit? Benji's more of a kind of a pure flex. Maybe not really an inline guy. I think Ty has that build of an inline guy, definitely a gifted pass catcher as well. But that 6'5" body, he's already 235. You got to figure he'll be probably close to 250 by the time he arrives on a college campus. More so in the Farrell, maybe even a Cade Stover mold body wise. So I think it would be a great system fit for what Ohio State likes to do with their tight ends. Likes to do a lot of those two tight end sets. Need to be able to block. To me, it's just kind of what they're looking for and the type of guy they need to get.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ohio State as well. I did an article on Ty after his June visit, and I caught up with him after the July visit. But after the June visit, I put on the board that I thought Ohio State, if they weren't the leader, they were really right up there, one of the top 2 or 3 choices. I think the barbecue kind of solidified Ohio State as the top school. He just, you get those kids on their first wave of visits, and I think the feedback you get is pretty honest before they realize how to play the media game and be a little bit more coy. So, he was just gushing about the relationships he was building and the genuine nature of the staff and just how he felt like he fit in so well. And I just think maybe they didn't have Lamborghinis on the field and they're not getting a million commitments right after a big event like that. But I think Ohio State, the stuff they did, the relationship building in the summer with the barbecue, with the camps, unofficial visits, things like that is going to pay off eventually at some point. I think it's going to first pay off with Ty Lockwood. And I think, to your point, Marc, he fits exactly what they're looking for. They have other than Jeremy Ruckert, who I think was a little bit different than some of these guys, just because he was such a special talent. You couldn't pass up on him. But a lot of the guys they recruit at tight end are very similar type of prospects. And a lot of them have gone off to the NFL despite not catching a ton of passes for Ohio State. So it shows you that no matter how they develop them, no matter how many times they throw, or I should say, no matter how many times they throw them the ball, they're going to develop them, and that's going to get them into the league. And I think that's what a lot of these guys are seeing. So let's move on. Another decision was announced. Cornell Tate, wide receiver, originally from Chicago, playing at IMG Academy in Florida. Top 60 consensus prospects, top of the board Ohio State guy at wide receiver for 2023. He will be deciding on October 8th. He's got, I think, a final 10 or final 8 schools, but really this has been viewed for quite some time as an Ohio State Notre Dame battle. I believe he is planning very soon to get back to both Ohio State and Notre Dame one more time. And then I guess we'll lock down, go into decision mode ahead of October 8th when he will announce his choice. How are you seeing this one leaning, Mark?
Yeah, I like Ohio State right now. I'm not going to discount Notre Dame here, but normally when they set the date, they kind of have an idea. Now, this one's interesting because there's about not quite 2 months of gap here. So he could be thinking something today, and then, there's 6 to 8 weeks here for this to flip and go the other direction. So there is some time here, I guess, for whoever is not the pick right now to make a difference. But I do like Ohio State. I think, look, the childhood dream school there, 2 visits in the summer. Definitely a place that would be close for his family. Obviously Notre Dame would be even closer, but definitely a regional fit for him and his family. Just seeing him walking around camp, just looked like a kid who was super comfortable where he was at. So I would lean toward Ohio State on this one.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward Ohio State too. I got that vibe in talking to some sources inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, as well as Cornell after his first visit. And then he brought back his mom, who didn't get a chance to see Ohio State. He brought her back for the second visit. And, I forget if it was the first or second or both, multi-day visits. This wasn't just an in and out. He's doing his thorough research. And look, I think he likes Notre Dame a lot. I think they're a great choice. Obviously, proximity to Chicago is strong and all that. But I think he's leaning Ohio State, to your point. Could he push back the date from October 8th if things change? Sure. Could he decide in the next month and a half or whatever it is to that Notre Dame's a place for him? Sure. But I think if he was deciding today, I do think it would be Ohio State. And I think he's a guy Brian Hartline really wants and is going after. And Brian has not missed on many guys that he really wants over the last few cycles. So right now, my pick would be for Ohio State for Cornell Tate. Moving on, second to last topic, Ohio, speaking of Notre Dame, they did lock in a really good player in Brendan Vernon. I don't personally, unless there's a coaching change, maybe I don't see him changing his commitment from Notre Dame to Ohio State or anyone else. I think he's locked in. But there are 3 other top prospects when we talk about the top 4 guys, maybe 5 guys, if, in Ohio for 2023, Sonny Styles, Josh Padilla, Luke Montgomery. You had the pleasure of going out, seeing Sonny Styles and Josh Padilla in action in some scrimmages, over the last week or 2. I know Bill was up in Findlay. I don't know if it was in Findlay or somewhere else, but he saw Findlay in action, and got to see Luke Montgomery, and a bunch of video is on our YouTube channel. Definitely check it out. Subscribe, Buckeye Scoop YouTube channel. We've also put stories and video on the site, so be sure to check that out. But Mark, tell us a little bit about where you think things stand with these 3, let's call it top 4 Ohioans left on Ohio State's board that they've offered so far for 2023.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're in-state guys, so I'm gonna, I don't think it's a homer thing to kind of say they're in good shape with all 3. I think there are varying obstacles and varying degrees of confidence with the 3, but I think can start with Sonny here. I think he's just a different kid than his brother. I've said that all along. I was kind of told to me very early that Ohio State was maybe a little more appealing to Sonny than it was to Lorenzo. From a culture fit. Lorenzo's, kind of a quieter academic kid. Sonny's a bit more of the hyper competitive, outgoing personality. I just think that's going to be a battle they're going to win. I know people are going to question that as far as the relationship with his brother, which is obviously very strong. They're very close, even though they are different people. But they are very close. But I just think in the end, it's going to be another Notre Dame Ohio State brother split. And I think it's going to be the 5th or 6th time they've done that in the last decade. So I don't think anyone should really be all that surprised if that happens. It seems to happen more often than not. So I like where things are there. That one's not over by any stretch, though. I think he's going to take a bunch of game visits this fall. He is a national recruit at this point. Do I think the Alabamas and Clemsons of the world are a threat here. Probably not. I do think it's going to be another Ohio State Notre Dame battle. But yeah, I think they're in a really good spot right now. And I've kind of felt that the whole way. It just, like I said, the same people who warned me early in Lorenzo Jr.'s recruitment that Notre Dame was going to be a bigger player than people were, kind of giving him credit for, have kind of taken the opposite approach with Sonny and felt that, Ohio State's going to be the one to beat there. Moving on to Montgomery, that's another kid, again, national, but, maybe is it Ohio State, Notre Dame again? I mean, is this another, but I think Ohio State's in good shape there. They've really kind of made him a priority. They took a bit of a weird route with him, not weird, but maybe, I don't know, unconventional for them. Normally with a guy like Luke, I think they'd want to let him play offensive tackle through this season, get the up close look at him, do all these other things, make him jump through some hoops. Just because he's still raw and still learning this position and everything else, but they went right in there with the offer super early. And I think that made a big difference. And I think this could have been one that was, at some point could have been pretty stressful, but I think the way they approached this from day one has made this one that they're in pretty good shape with right now. And then we get to Josh Padilla, who, it's funny. I think everyone views Padilla as the Ohio State lock and the other two as like the big battles or whatever. I don't know. I don't know that I'm actually less confident in Montgomery and Styles than I am in Padilla. I actually think Notre Dame is in it for Padilla. I think he really likes Jeff Quinn, the offensive line coach there. Now, what I think is going to win with Padilla is I think the head coach relationship. I think if you toss out the O-line coaches here, he likes both of those guys. He's getting along great with both of those guys. I think the head coach here could be the tiebreaker. And if it is, that's going to favor Ryan Day. So that's kind of my mindset on all three of those guys. Kind of different obstacles with all three of them, but all three I think are pretty good, or Ohio State's in pretty good shape for all three.
Yeah, it's interesting because I kind of am starting to agree with you. I think we all thought Josh Padilla might be committed by now. And you add in the fact that Marcus Freeman and Mike Mickens are both Wayne guys. And I don't know, it just, you start to wonder what's taking so long here. And I'm not saying he's not going to go to Ohio State, but he's clearly giving other schools a look when maybe we didn't think that would be the case. We thought a kid like this maybe would jump all over his Ohio State offer. So I probably agree with you. I think I would pick Ohio State if I had to pick one school for all of them. I actually might feel best about Luke Montgomery right now. Notre Dame, Michigan, maybe in the mix. Obviously, I think they were super impressed with what they saw at Alabama and maybe Clemson, because how could you not be? But I think he's going to be a regional kid. And, Michigan's offered his brother, which is nice, but I'm told that this decision is going to be made off who offered his brother, who's yet to play a high school snap, but I think is actually going to be a really good quarterback prospect from what we've seen video and a couple people have seen live and things like that. But I think Ohio State, I just think he's hit it off with stud, and they think they like Ryan Day a lot. And the dad played for Kevin Wilson at Miami, Ohio on the offensive line. And I just think that there is a comfort level there that is probably the best. I think Sonny, I do think Ohio State has the edge, but there's fair reason to think that Notre Dame could be the pick. I don't think anyone's saying that it's going to be Notre Dame. You could just completely dismiss them for obvious reasons. So I like Ohio State for all three guys. I would probably have it as Luke, Josh, and Sonny as the three likely, but that doesn't mean I don't think Sonny's coming to Ohio State. That one, because of the level of prospect he is, because the brother's there and he'll be there so many times and things like that. I'm not as confident right now, but I do think Ohio State has the edge. So moving on to the last topic, and then we'll wrap things up. Outside of the Ohio kids, obviously Cornell Tate and Ty Lockwood, anyone else on your radar in the 2023 class that you think could be on the verge of committing to Ohio State? Not necessarily in the next couple of weeks, but maybe, let's call it by the end of October.
Yeah, I think they're in great shape with Derek LeBlanc, obviously. Multiple trips from Florida over the summer. That's certainly a great sign by all indications, and just, his own words.
Three of them, I think, right?
Yeah. I mean, just, look, that's looking really good right now. I know the premise is soon, so I'm going to kind of jump away from that here for a second. I don't think this is soon. I think we're a long way away with with both of these guys. But get the fan base riled up here a little bit. Great shape early on with 5-star running back Richard Young. Again, multiple visits in a pretty short time frame there. Great relationship with Tony Alford. Everything going right there right now. Going to be a national battle. And Mateo Uyangalele, defensive end, St. John Bosco. I think Ohio State might have set the bar so far in his recruitment, and that's going to be a fun one to follow here for the next 12 months. But probably not as confident in that one as Richard Young just yet. I think that one's got a lot more to play out, a lot more visits that kid's going to take versus Richard, who I think's seen a lot of his top schools already. So, it could be some more twists and turns there, but there's 2 out-of-state 5-stars to chum the waters here a little bit over the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, those would be 2 huge gets for Ohio State. I think Derek LeBlanc would be the guy for me, just because, again, 3 visits this summer from Florida on his own dime, came for the barbecue after coming to a couple different camp days. I just think they're in a great spot, and I think he's trying to get up for a game this fall, and I could see things happening after that. But there could be some names that we're not talking about that surprise you. I don't think a guy like Caden Proctor, even though I think they're in a good spot like for him, or Chase Besantis are maybe ready to pull the trigger just yet, even if they do come for a game in the fall. But I think there could be a few guys out there that maybe we're not talking about.
Let me throw one out there that I totally
AJ Harris.
AJ Harris. There we go.
That's
we keep hearing maybe soon, push it back a little bit. So the October will be before October 1 or October 10. I don't know. He's you mentioned he moved his visit for the Maryland game, which I believe is October 9th. Yep. He plays on Thursday that weekend. That's why he was kind of able to do that. Plays on Thursday night. Buckeye Scoop may be in attendance. So I could see that going Ohio State's way, maybe before Thanksgiving, say. I could definitely see that going Ohio State's way.
Yeah, that's where I was going. October 9th visit for AJ. And, that could be a situation where after that visit, he comes back, sits down with his family, sets a date. I mean, the date might end up being in November, whatever, but I think that could be a situation. I know people have talked about Clemson and Georgia and Notre Dame there, but I still feel good that Ohio State is out in front. And I think a strong visit in the fall will solidify that. So we will see. He obviously would be a tremendous get. Any of the guys we mentioned would be great gets for Ohio State, but it does look like, by the time some of you are watching this, Ty Lockwood may already be in the bag. We'll see, but it looks like Ohio State is on the verge of getting their first 2023 commitment, and then the dominoes might be able to fall after that. Mark, thanks for joining the show. Always a pleasure to have you. Great chopping it up. And for anyone listening, be sure to check out Buckeye Scoop. If you're not a member, give us a try. Things are rolling right now as we head into fall camp and we're out on the road watching recruits. Recruiting visits are going to be in full gear. This is definitely going to be a different year than last year with some of the restrictions lifted. So excited for the fall at Buckeye Scoop and hope to see you all on there.
This episode of Around the Oval was brought to you by Todd Pennington with Renovation Mortgage. If you've been thinking about refinancing or buying a house, check out our sponsor, Todd Pennington with Renovation Mortgage. They offer low rates for refinancing and home purchase loans, including first-time home buyer programs, down payment assistance, and cash-out home equity loans. Check out revolutionmortgage.com/T Pennington.